British Airways, what we see is that passengers really love flying on the aircraft. We know that the comfort of the A380 delivers a fantastic product, not just for the passengers, but also has the economic capability to develop the airline's profitability. We will look at the development of the A380 going forward, and I can say a few words about that as well. Just going back to the full range of the Airbus family, you can see they're going from the A330 right up to the A380. Well, let's just talk about the dynamics of what happened between the A350s and the 787s and now the 777Xs. Well, the aircraft that Boeing launched against the A330 was the 787, because the 330, back in the early part of the 2000s, was dominating the sales against the 767. Boeing launched the 787 to stop that happening. Well, they didn't succeed because we continued to sell. We sold more A330s since Boeing launched the 787 than before the launch of the 787. The aircraft that they put up against us was the 787-8 and 787-9. Once Airbus launched the A350, 800, 900, and 1000, the aircraft that we had offered to the airlines, if you want a small airplane, we had the 350-800. If you needed a large aircraft, we had the 350-900. If you wanted to replace your 777s, we have the A350-1000. And the 350-900, if you look at the characteristics of the aircraft, it has an 85,000-pound engine as its baseline. The 787 started off with a 70,000-pound engine and soon found that the weight saving that they thought they were going to get didn't actually materialize. So the weight of the 787 went up, the thrust of the 787 engine had to go up with it, and that's now reached the limit, which is why when you see the 787-10, which they've launched against the A350 family, simply doesn't have the range. So if you need the range, you won't buy a 787-10. If you need the capacity, you won't buy a 787-9. And if you need a small airplane, well, people don't buy too many small airplanes today. So 350-800 has the right proposition. So all that means is that the 787 family really hasn't performed that well against the A350. So much so that Boeing had to go back and actually pull out the old 777, try and clean it up, and try and make something of the 777. So they launched the 777X family, which we've recently seen against the 350s. I've heard people say, they want the 350-1000 to compete with the 787-8. Well, guess what? I don't think the 777-8 will sell many airplanes because its trip cost is too high, its seat mile cost is lousy, and the 350-1000 simply will beat it on all occasions. So we have the 777-9 to contend with. Well, they talk about innovation. Well, innovation. They say, well, the airlines want to have fuel efficiency, so what innovation did they bring? Well, they increased the wingspan. Well, I think the Wright brothers figured out that if you increase the wingspan, then you end up with a lower fuel burn. So it's not really innovation. That was right there from day one with the launch of the Wright brothers aircraft. But simply increasing the wingspan, we could do that as well. But you can't do it indefinitely because at some point the aircraft has to go to the terminals. And so they have this code system in the airline world. And most of the aircraft today fly around in the wide-body characteristic in the category in Code E, which is 65 meters wingspan or less. They've now crossed that and they've had to go to folding wings. Folding wings is not an innovation, it's a necessity. Folding wings, when you talk to the airlines, they don't want folding wings because it's just another thing to maintain, another thing to go wrong, another thing to look after. So it's not innovation per se. The next thing that the 777 had to do in order to try and match the A350 economics is to deliver more seats. So how are they going to do that? So they made the airplane a bit longer, they squeezed a few more people into it. But if you look at the marketing material that Boeing puts out, the only way that they can make the 777 stack up against the A350 is to go to this 10 abreast configuration. Well, 75% of the airline customers today operate the aircraft in a 9 abreast configuration. Going from 9 abreast to 10 abreast goes from an 18.5-inch seat down to a 17-inch seat. So they make the 777 a little bit wider, 4 inches. But if you take 4 inches, you divide it across 10 seats, add a little bit more to the aisle, it takes a very uncomfortable airplane and makes it just uncomfortable. So there's no comparison when it comes to comfort, there's no comparison when it comes to economics. The aircraft have equal range, and as you've seen that the A350-1000 has been taking most of the market in recent terms. Of course, they will sell some airplanes, but in terms of innovation, in terms of having a new airplane, the 777 is just a warmed up 777 and nothing new in the marketplace. 747-8, well, we have already seen that some of its launch customers start talking about replacing the 747-8, and that's simply because, again, it's an aircraft of the 1960s. It doesn't have the capability to stack up against an A380. A380 is all about comfort, the A380 is all about size, the A380 is about connecting large hubs, having the right capacity, and we will look at that airplane as the future in the next, not just 10, maybe 20 or 30 years going forward to cope with the traffic growth that we will have. It's not all about airplanes, it's all about globalization as well. When we sell aircraft in the world, we of course have to show that we're not just a European company that builds airplanes here in France and Germany, but we're actually a global company that involves the aerospace industries of the countries in which we sell our aircraft. We have, for the last few years, had the final assembly in China, which is going extremely well. We delivered the first export aircraft out of China, which went to AirAsia in December of last year. And the Chinese, of course, are very encouraged to see more exports of aircraft from the Shenzhen line. We will, of course, as you know, open the North American market with the FAL there. We have also, not just talking about FALs, but we also have a lot of engineering and offset programs with many of the countries in which we sell the aircraft. In terms of selling the aircraft is one aspect. Now we have to support the aircraft, and here we have the world's best customer support department that delivers training, delivers engineering services, delivers support to our customers, not just from Toulouse or from Hamburg or from but right there with the airlines. We have subsidiary offices, we have simulators, we have 160 field service offices, 250 field reps all over the world looking after the aircraft. And this is what the airlines really value. So when we talk about new entrants coming into this business, one of the things, they may be able to produce an airplane. The airplane may not be as good as the aircraft that we produce, but having that global network of support services is something that you can't do overnight. It's taken Airbus many years to evolve the support, and today it is a world-class support service. And the airlines, through all the surveys we've done, recognize Airbus as being the leader in customer support today. So innovation, coming back to innovation, well, the century started with a lot of innovation from Airbus. We had the A380s, 2007, but when an A380 takes off and goes past you, you still see it as the aircraft that just entered service. But 2007, the Singapore Airlines aircraft entered service, and it's an aircraft that has an awful lot of innovation in it, whether it's in the cockpit, whether it's in the cabin, whether it's in the aerodynamics or on the engine. This aircraft is still a very modern airplane, but of course we will have to look at what we do to the airplane. Just like any other aircraft, as time goes by, we will have to look and see what it needs to do to keep the airplane alive and modern. We've done it for all our products in the past, whether it's the 320s, the 330s, now the 350s, and of course we spend money every year on research and development to ensure that all these aircraft remain very much alive in terms of its efficiency, in terms of comfort, in terms of the ability to serve the customers throughout the world. So we had in the first part in 2007, we had the A380 as our sort of flagship in terms of innovation. You saw today the A350 XWE. Well, that's going to deliver even more innovation when it comes to the airline customers who will be taking the aircraft. They will see the composite fuselage, the composite wings. They will see dramatic reductions in maintenance costs. They will see increases in comfort. They will see reductions in terms of fuel burn. They will see the airlines, passengers being served with greater connectivity. A lot of innovation. We'll see the pilots with new innovative ways of flying the aircraft to reduce the workload, to cope with the demands of the world's air traffic control systems. All of that integrated into the aircraft to ensure we start with an airplane that's well ahead of its times. Looking forward, we'll see the A320neo. Not much in the first phase of the 320neo in terms of changing the airplane, because that's what the customers said to us. When we looked and discussed with them, they are in love with the A320 and wanted to keep the A320 as is. They wanted the aircraft early, so that dictated the strategy there to ensure that we could give an early delivery of the 320neo, but with the technology of the new engines to ensure we deliver the 15% increase in fuel efficiency. Going forward, of course, as we have done over the past few years, we continue to invest in the A320 family as well as all the other families, looking at the cabin, looking at the cockpit, and ensure that that airplane also stays ahead of the game. So it's the product strategy. Well, as we've discussed, we have